The morning sun streamed through the windows of Westridge High as Zara Johnson walked down the hallway, her footsteps echoing against the lockers. At 18, Zara was a force to be reckoned with, president of the debate team, lead cellist in the orchestra, and maintaining a perfect 4.0 GPA. Her beautiful box braids, meticulously done by her mother every 6 weeks, bounced with each confident step she took. "Yearbooks are here," someone shouted from the main office. Zara felt a flutter of excitement in her stomach. Senior year was almost over, and the yearbook represented the culmination of her high school journey. She'd worked hard for this moment, to see herself among her peers, celebrated for her achievements. $10, said Mrs. Patterson, the office secretary, as she handed Zara the glossy book. Zara flipped eagerly to the senior portrait section, her fingers trembling slightly. When she found her page, she froze. The smile faded from her face. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Zara stared in disbelief at her yearbook photo. Her box braids, the intricate pattern her mother had spent hours creating, were gone. Instead, her hair appeared straightened, altered to look like something entirely different. Something that wasn't her. "What in the world?" she whispered, her fingers tracing over the glossy paper. "Zara. Did you see yours too?" Darius Taylor rushed toward her, his own yearbook clutched tightly in his hands. Darius, known for his artistic talent and perfectly shaped high-top fade with intricate designs, now appeared in the yearbook with a generic, shortened hairstyle. "They changed mine too," Zara said, her voice cracking slightly. "What's going on?" More students gathered around them. Amara Wesley approached, tears welling in her eyes. Her beautiful Senegalese twists had been digitally removed, replaced with a plain, pulled-back style. "Let me see yours," Zara said to Tiana Brooks, another senior standing nearby. Tiana, who wore her hair in proud, voluminous curls, looked devastated as she showed her photo. Her natural hair had been digitally flattened and reduced. "It's just our photos," Marcus Powell pointed out, his voice rising with anger. "Look at the white students, their photos are untouched." Zara flipped through page after page. Marcus was right. Only the black students had their cultural hairstyles edited out. Their identities, literally erased. "This isn't right." Zara slammed her yearbook shut. Someone made these decisions. Someone thought our hair wasn't good enough for Westridge High's precious yearbook. But who would do this? Amara asked, wiping away a tear. "I don't know," Zara replied, fire building in her eyes. "But we're going to find out." Zara marched down the hallway with Darius, Amara, Tiana, and Marcus following close behind. Their footsteps thundered in unison as they approached Principal Whitmore's office, each clutching their altered yearbooks. "Do you have an appointment?" asked Ms. Delgado, the principal's assistant, looking up from her computer with startled eyes. "This can't wait," Zara replied firmly, holding up her yearbook. "We need answers now." Ms. Delgado buzzed Principal Whitmore, who appeared moments later at his door. His tall frame filled the doorway as he surveyed the group of students. "What seems to be the problem?" he asked, his voice maintaining a practiced calmness. "These." Zara thrust her yearbook forward, flipping to her photo. "Someone altered our pictures. They changed our hair, erased our cultural hairstyles. And it only happened to black students." Principal Whitmore's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "Come inside, please." The 5 students filed into his office. Vice Principal Hargrove was already seated inside, her thin lips pressed together in a straight line. "Show me," Principal Whitmore said, extending his hand for Zara's yearbook that he flipped through the pages, nodding slightly as if confirming something he already knew. Vice Principal Hargrove looked over his shoulder, her face revealing nothing. "This isn't a mistake, is it?" Darius challenged, stepping forward. "Someone did this on purpose." Principal Whitmore cleared his throat. Westridge High has always maintained certain standards of presentation, particularly for official school publications. The yearbook committee, under faculty guidance, follows our uniformity policy. Uniformity policy? Marcus repeated incredulously. What does that even mean? It means, Vice Principal Hargrove interjected, that certain stylistic choices are standardized for professional appearance. This has been our practice for years. So our natural hair isn't professional? Tiana's voice rose. Our cultural expressions aren't acceptable for your precious yearbook? You're misinterpreting, Principal Whitmore began. No, Zara cut him off. You're erasing us. You're saying our identities don't fit your definition of uniform. That's discrimination, plain and simple. Principal Whitmore's jaw tightened. I understand you're upset, but this falls under established school guidelines for presentation standards. We want the yearbooks reprinted, Amara demanded. With our real photos. Our real selves. That's not possible, Vice Principal Hargrove stated flatly. The yearbooks have been printed and distributed. The matter is closed. Zara leaned forward, placing both hands on the principal's desk. Then this conversation is just beginning, she promised, her voice steady despite the anger coursing through her. Because we won't let this stand. We need to build a case, Zara announced as she paced back and forth in the empty classroom where she and her friends had gathered during lunch. This isn't just about the yearbook. I bet there's more. Darius nodded, pulling out his laptop. My cousin graduated 3 years ago. Let me text him for his yearbook photos. Good idea, Marcus said. We should check past yearbooks too. See if this has happened before. Tiana raised her hand. Remember when Coach Thompson told Jamal he couldn't play in the championship game unless he cut his locks? Said it was a safety issue? And remember the talent show last year? Amara added. When Keisha wanted to perform that African dance and they told her it wasn't appropriate for a school function? Zara grabbed a marker and began writing on the whiteboard, creating a timeline of incidents. We need to document everything. For the next 3 days, they worked relentlessly. They interviewed current and former students, combed through old yearbooks, and reviewed the student handbook line by line. Look at this, Marcus said on the 3rd day, pointing to his screen. The dress code specifically prohibits extreme hairstyles but doesn't define what that means. It's deliberately vague so they can target whoever they want. Zara leaned over his shoulder. And look how it's been enforced. 27 black students given detention for hair violations in the past year alone. Not a single white student. I found something else, Darius said quietly, his face grim. He turned his laptop around to show them an email thread he'd obtained from his cousin who had worked in the yearbook committee. The messages were between Vice Principal Hargrove and the yearbook advisor, explicitly instructing staff to clean up and standardize the appearances of students with urban or ethnic hairstyles. This is it, Zara whispered, her heart pounding. This is proof. They've been doing this deliberately for years. The basement of Tiana's house hummed with urgent energy as 15 students huddled together, voices hushed but determined. Zara stood at the center, coordinating their plan of action. The school board meeting is next Tuesday, she said, tapping a red circle on the calendar. That's our moment. We'll have 5 minutes for public comment, but we need to make those minutes count. I've compiled all our evidence, Darius announced, holding up a thick folder. Yearbook comparisons, handbook policies, detention records, and those emails. It's all here. My mom's a journalist, Marcus added. She says her station will cover it if we give them a heads up. Amara stepped forward with a stack of bright posters. I've been working on these. Our hair, our heritage, our right. What do you think? Zara nodded approvingly. Perfect. And remember, we need to stay focused and professional. They'll try to dismiss us as just angry kids. Don't give them that excuse. My uncle's a civil rights attorney, Tiana said. He's coming to the meeting too. He says what they're doing violates multiple anti-discrimination laws. We should wear our hair in its most natural, cultural state, suggested Keisha, who had joined their cause. Show them exactly what they tried to erase. Zara looked around at her fellow students, feeling a swell of pride. This isn't just about hair or yearbook photos anymore. This is about dignity, respect, and changing something that's been wrong for too long. Together, they all chorused, hands joining in the center of their circle. The Westridge School Board meeting room had never been so packed. Camera crews from 2 local stations positioned themselves in the corners. Parents, teachers, and students filled every seat, with more people standing along the walls. Zara and her friends sat in the front row, their cultural hairstyles proudly displayed, box braids, locks, afros, and twists making a powerful visual statement. Board President Reynolds tapped his microphone. We'll now open the floor for public comment. Zara approached the podium, her heart hammering against her ribs. Behind her, 30 students rose silently, each holding up their altered yearbook photos alongside pictures of their natural hair. My name is Zara Johnson, she began, her voice clear and steady. For years, Westridge High has been quietly erasing the cultural identities of its black students. She held up a folder. We have evidence of systematic discrimination in your policies. Specifically targeted enforcement of dress codes. Denial of cultural expression. And this year's yearbook, where only black students had their natural hairstyles digitally altered without consent. Camera flashes erupted as Darius passed copies of the before and after yearbook photos to the board members and press. This isn't about aesthetics, Zara continued. This is about whose identity is deemed acceptable and whose is erased. This is about a school teaching its black students that their natural appearance is somehow unprofessional or inappropriate. She pulled out the printed emails. We have communications proving this was deliberate policy, not a mistake. Principal Whitmore shifted uncomfortably as Tiana's uncle, in his crisp suit, stepped forward to stand beside Zara. I'm Attorney James Walker, he announced. These actions violate Title VI of the Civil Rights Act and the state's Crown Act prohibiting hair discrimination. We're prepared to file formal complaints with the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights unless immediate action is taken. The room erupted. Board members whispered urgently to each other. Parents stood up, demanding answers. Camera operators zoomed in on the board's reactions. In that moment, with the spotlight blazing and truth laid bare, Zara knew they had 1.2 weeks later. Zara stood before a table stacked with new yearbooks, the morning sunlight streaming through the windows of Westridge High's lobby. Each student will receive a corrected copy, announced the new interim principal, Dr. Nichols. Additionally, the board has unanimously approved our revised anti-discrimination policy specifically protecting cultural hairstyles and expressions. Principal Whitmore and Vice Principal Hargrove had been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The yearbook advisor had resigned. Zara opened her new yearbook, tears welling as she saw her beautiful box braids intact, her true self preserved on the page. We did it, Amara whispered, squeezing her hand. Darius nodded. Not just for us. For everyone who comes after us too. Their victory wasn't just about photographs, it was about dignity, identity, and the power of standing up for what's right.